Hi, this is part 3 of our series on the multi-wall approach. We use at Beck to document our walls. Part 1 and 2. Part 1 showed you how to do this and the different walls. Part 2 showed some of the challenges with this, and this part will show you some of the benefits and flexibility involved in this technique. And so let's jump right in. If you haven't watched the first two, I encourage you to do so. So this is our little test building where we have the multiple different finishes. I'm going to drop back to plan. And the first thing I want to look at is the flexibility in section. So here we have, let's make this a little more detailed wall section. 3/4 inch is typically what we do our wall sections at. So let's take a look at all of these are separate walls. So as we adjust our design, we can decide that the finish piece comes down, say 4 inches below the grade, right? So you have that level of flexibility because that's a separate object. And if you remember in the training, we talk about how important it is to understand where the finish face or the location line is set at the finish face interior. That is when we look at the assembly of the wall, you start at the exterior. So we got the wood rain screen, then we've got all of our core layers. And so in all reality, finish face interior and core face interior are the same in this wall type. So it wouldn't actually change anything if you were to change that to core face interior. It's both still on that line, and that's exactly where we want you to have the exterior finishes location line. And the reason you want it there is so if you need to swap it with other finishes, you can, and it grows. It doesn't move anywhere nasty. So if you had brick, you can swap it there. See what would happen if I switch that to finish face exterior, and then I were to swap it back to something, it would be away from the building. So that's why it's important to recognize where we put our location line. So we'll go back to that. You also then have the flexibility in section to split the wall. So you can use the SX that's under modify and this guy up here, and very easily split the finish of the wall and change a portion of it. You know, if that was metal panel, we can change it to that. So it allows, and we can stretch it, split it again. Up here we can go back to our rain screen or EFIS or whatever it is we might have different finishes for. The next piece of this that's important to recognize is that each of these can then be assigned a appropriate assembly code, where if the whole thing was one wall type, you wouldn't be able to assign the proper assembly codes. So you can see there are assembly codes for exterior finishes. So there's not one specifically for rain screen, so I'd probably call that a composite panel system and set it at that. And then we can take our metal panel wall type and make sure that it's set to a composite panel system. There is one for just metal panels, so we'll do that. That makes more sense. And then your backup wall, it would be a substructure. It's probably already set. It's the exterior wall, CMU wall assembly. So this is really important to let estimate properly from our models. So the interior furring, we will see that it's interior frame partitions. So all of those together accurately make up what we want to make up. So if you need to do anything else with this, you can use join geometry to clean those transitions up. So that can be done. The next benefit would be interior So this block wall, it's going to go as high as it actually goes. So in this case, it's going up multi-stories. And then the very finishes, they can go up and change however much they need to. And then same with the interior. So this furring here, it probably doesn't need to go up very far. So I'm going to go ahead and take and split it and nuke this middle section, because a lot of time this furring, if we have a ceiling right, it only needs to probably go about 6 inches above that. So I can tab select the top, tell that to be 6 inches above there. And now I've got a much more accurate representation of the amount of material used. And then this one we'd change. And when you do split, you always need to change the base level to where you want it to be, because it's going to remember its original host. So I'm going to change that from level 1 plus 16 to level 2 up to level 3. And so maybe that one goes all the way up, or at some point there's a roof there. You can then, set this however high it actually needs to go. So that's all the great flexibility we have using this approach. Like we pointed out in the other videos, it is more pieces, so you don't want to start down this road until you need to, but it is incredibly flexible and works very, very well. The next thing, it obviously works very well from a documentation standpoint, because each of these all has materials that we can then tag using the annotate material tag, and whether you use keynoting or material descriptions, that will allow you to go through and tag all of your different finishes. Now, so the last point I'd make is that this approach actually takes less wall types than if you were to try and do this with a composite wall assembly, because to make up this wall right, you would need a wall type that's rain screen over CMU over metal stud with gyp interior. Then you'd need to split that at this level, and you'd need one for metal panel over CMU over blah, blah, blah. So you get the idea. And you couldn't ever get this granularity in the finishes. There's a bunch of other benefits. Each different wall type could have its own wrapping set. So anyway, I hope that's enough to encourage you to use this method. It is the way we want you to do your modeling at Beck. And I hope this is helpful. If you have questions or run into snags as you're doing this on your project, please reach out to us at BIM Support. Thank you.